philosophy underpinning our new approach, and indeed underpinning so many of the changes this new government will undertake in reforming our public services. Our starting point is that public services should serve the public, meeting their needs, responding to what they want, answering directly to them. Of course, in an ideal world, what the public wants from the police is no crime, no violent crime, no homicides, no thefts, no drunken louds. But of course that's not the world we live in. Most of us live in big cities sharing scarce space with people with diverse backgrounds and diverse interests. That's the reality of our world, the world in which you have to operate. And that's why we want to change the way the police forces of our country are managed. We want to replace the big government bureaucratic accountability that has grown in recent years, where police officers are forced to answer to politicians through a range of inspections, targets, gimmicks and performance indicators, with democratic accountability that reflects that not all communities in our country are exactly the same and have the same policing needs, where you are accountable to the people you serve. That way we can help to build confidence in the system and deliver policing that meets local priorities. And in practice, this means striking a new deal with you, the police service. I want to give the service back its professional responsibility. Getting rid of the centralised bureaucracy that wastes money, saps morale, crushes innovation, freeing the men and women of our police forces to do what they're trained to do, want to do, and the public expects them to do, making our society safer. But in return for this new freedom, the police service must accept a transfer of power over policing from Whitehall to communities by giving local people a real say over how their streets are policed. So let me take each of these in turn, and first looking at professional responsibility. I don't know if you remember that police recruitment campaign a few years ago with people like Lennox Lewis and Simon Weston saying how they'd struggled to cope with the pressures of being a police officer. It ended with them saying, "I couldn't do it, could you?" You could. That's why you chose this job, and you do. It's why you still do this job. Each one of you has taken an incredibly brave decision to put yourself in harm's way to protect the public. I said it was time to give you the respect you deserve, and that means giving you the responsibility you deserve. It means trusting you. Because if government won't trust you, what kind of message does that send to the public? So we want to give you back that trust, restore pride in your job, and bring some common sense back to policing. How you operate is for you to decide with your leaders. That's what professional responsibility means. So we will return some charging decisions to the police. Instead of waiting around police stations for a charging decision, you, the officer, will be given the responsibility to decide whether to charge for minor offences. We'll also look at untangling the knot of health and safety rules. At the moment, legislation tilts too far in favour of discouraging officers from intervening, and we want to tip the scale back while at the same time ensuring your safety. We will also look at dismantling the targets in disguise, the key performance indicators, which set those national one-size-fits-all priorities for local forces and instead allow you to pursue the crimes and criminals you believe you should. And I'm determined that we will be the government that finally gets to grip with all the paperwork you find so frustrating. So we will scrap the stop form in its entirety and reduce the burden of the stop and search procedures. I understand that some of the paperwork is necessary to provide intelligence to protect you and protect our civil liberties, but there is far too much. So in the weeks, months and years ahead, I want to work closely with you to reduce the amount of paperwork that comes across your desk. If there's bureaucracy you think is unnecessary and time-wasting, I want to hear about it and stop it. And let me be absolutely clear. I want the police to be crime fighters, not form fillers. Out on the streets as much as they think necessary, not behind the desk chained to a computer. Perhaps most importantly of all, I want to free you by stopping all the initiatives and gimmicks that emanate from central government. When policing priorities are dictated by the news cycle rather than what works, you only get the most superficial short-term change. We've got to entrench long-term thinking, working with laws that we've got and the powers you already have to score the line between right and wrong in our neighbourhoods. This is a question of implementing what exists, not legislating for something new. And I believe it will mean that you can go about your job without worrying about the next edict to come from on high. So with these changes, we will give you the licence to police. But you will understand the need for an appropriate system of checks. So the new freedom does come with some strings attached. But I can assure you these will not be in the form of bureaucratic meddling from Whitehall. Instead, they will come from greater accountability to the public you serve. I'm sure you've already read about changes we propose. Some of you may even be worried about what they mean for you, but they will largely affect your chief constables. Because instead of having them answer to Whitehall, we will make them answer to directly elected individuals with a mandate to set local policing priorities. That mandate will have been earned through election, and those policing priorities will have been developed with the consent of local people. And that's what we mean by democratic, not bureaucratic accountability, directly involving local people in developing local policing strategies, providing a clear and visible link between the police and the public, and of course giving communities the power to kick people out of office if things go wrong. Now, I know concerns that these elected individuals might result in the politicisation of the police force, or worse still, interfere with your operational independence. So I want to put your mind at rest. The truth is that constant interference by previous Home Secretaries has caused the real politicisation of policing. Locally elected individuals are a giant step in the right direction.